Are black women sexually repressed? Not that I've seen. No, I don't think so. I think society is still in a phase where some people will still judge women who openly express their sexuality, and I think we're progressing away from that, but it's probably still going to take some time to get to a legitimately even keel. But I don't feel that black women are repressed. I feel that maybe the idea or the goal of society for years has been to do so. But I think if they were, they're not now. They're definitely feeling the freedom to be who they want to be, express themselves, how they want to express themselves in terms of sexual desires, sexuality, sensuality, whatever it is that makes them happy. So I don't think there's a repression. It seems as time goes on, a lot of things that were once considered taboo, considered off limits, are becoming more and more the norm, if not the mainstream. So definitely not seeing any repression out here, or in my my experience, so to speak. So not at all. All right, this is a curious one. If the sex is bad from the beginning, should you stay with the other person? Again, I think this speaks to where you are, and more so speaks to how you feel about the other person. If you are really invested in this person, if you really like them, if you really feel them, depending on whatever length of time it took to get to that first intimate encounter between the two of y'all, I would say if you care enough for the person, you will attempt to improve things. A bad first encounter does not mean endless bad encounters. It could be an opportunity, for growth. Some people say, I've heard it said, many times, I'm not here to be anybody's teacher. Well, cool. Then hopefully you will never encounter someone that knows more than you and finds your sex game to be lacking. But, in this situation, I think if you care about the person genuinely, and, that's the type of relationship that you have with them, you would say, okay, you know what, let's talk, let's communicate about this and see if this is a point that we could go from and improve, versus just saying, finito, done deal, I'm not dealing with that. So, again, it's more so a matter of the feelings for the person versus just what actually happened. And again, that might not be your position, it might not be your goal right now to invest the time to possibly, teach someone, so to speak. So yeah, would I be opposed to that? Again, if I cared about the person, thinking back to previous relationships, I wouldn't have a problem with it in that frame of in that situation. So I don't think it's a bad thing, to each their own. But if you're not in a run and gun type of mind frame, and you've got time to invest in people, I think that journey could actually be really worth it and really pleasurable if you've got a partner that you want to go down that road with. That's just how I see that. It's gonna get interesting. What's one thing that all men want in bed? I'm trying to think of a way to sum that up. Mastery, control. I think as guys, we want that more often than not to be a space that we control. I think in a world where you oftentimes don't have a lot of control, I think that arena is a place where you want to be, you know, sort of the master of your domain, so to speak. You want to dictate, no pun intended, what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen. And again, that's just that's an ideal situation. I don't think that's necessarily the reality or the majority situation. You know, you might be in control all the time, but then you might want to be in a situation where, you know what, I want her to call the shots and kind of see what happens. And even control might not necessarily be a physical control, like, you know, like barking out orders or whatnot, but you may still want to be sort of the person that sets the tone and sort of is the maestro of the orchestra, so to speak. So you're putting things in place and you sort of, you know, everything that is happening because you're laying the foundation for that to happen. And, you know, something like that is also, I think that's also relative to your partner. Some partners are probably easier to say, I don't want to say dominate. I think that's too aggressive. But, you know, I think who you are and what you are speaks volumes into just how much control you could have in a situation. I know, even from the women friends that I know, when they speak and talk about situations, they, in the, you know, the outside world, outside their relationships, outside their bedrooms, are very dominant, very strong, aggressive people. So that speaks to a certain type of person, but they will still tell me the fact that they are so aggressive and so strong-willed in their everyday life oftentimes puts them in a position where personally, where intimately, they don't want to be that strong, that dominant. They want to have a match to that in that setting. So yeah, I think control, I think dominance, I think mastery of the bedroom, so to speak, is something that every man wants in one way or another. Now, this is an interesting question because off top, I'm not married. So, you know, take anything I say with a grain of salt. I'm not here to give marriage advice to those who have been fortunate enough to be in that position and find that partner for them. But if sex goes wrong within the marriage, what do you do? I'm old school in the way I view marriage. You know, it's a one-shot deal for me when I go ahead to do it. So hypothetically, if I'm in a marriage, if I'm in that situation, I'm thinking, okay, something happened that I didn't like, or something happened that wasn't what I expected. I mean, my thought process goes, you talk about it, identify the issue, find out what it was. Is it something that is going to repeatedly happen? And, I mean, you deal with it. I don't really, I mean, if something wrong happens, I think in any sexual situation, a conversation needs to happen, period. I think the fact that it happens in marriage is just a stronger indication that a communication has to happen. Because I don't know about the next person. I'm not walking out of a marriage because we had a bad sexual situation. Now, again, the question is very, you know, very vague, very open. If it maybe lent itself to a specific example, maybe that would change things. But in regards to just, you know, a bad encounter, communication, like every other aspect of relationships, communicate with your partner, talk, find out what it was, and, you know, put in the time and the effort to fix it. I don't think I think this is something that is a bigger, it's as big a problem as you make it. So hopefully no marriages are falling apart because, you know, because of a bad session. So hopefully that's not the case. But once again, gang of questions came from this topic as expected. Ask a Black Man. This is week 3, sex edition. Make sure you hop over to Madame Noire on MadameNoire.com. Also, Madame Noire on YouTube. Those are 2 platforms that you could find the entire Ask a Black Man series, which also includes member profiles of everybody that is on these respective panels. So if you hear somebody saying something and you really like the perspective they're coming from, you might actually want to check out who they are. You've got the ability to do that. Obviously, if you're watching this, fan of the Samurai, feel free to check into the socialmediasamurai.com anytime. Lots of topics. We'll be continuing the extension for the, I believe it's at least another 3, if not 4 weeks of Ask a Black Man content. So thanks again for tuning in, and see you next week.